Yeah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah, yeah, oh yeah, what condition my condition was in.
Alon.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Were you John Lund?
Well, today was a big day, but was today the biggest day in June in NFL history?
Oh, yeah, actually, that's a great question. I'm trying to think. When was the last time there was a massive trade in June? When did Antonio Brown get traded, Derek?
That was earlier in the offseason when he went from the Steelers to the Raiders. We've always seen these late June moves, like last year, Jalen Ramsey getting dealt from the Dolphins to the Steelers. A couple years ago was Julio Jones getting dealt from the Falcons to the Tennessee Titans. But I've never seen two trades like this. One we knew was coming in A.J. Brown, but the Myles Garrett trade, we'll talk about it right now on Just Your Opinion, man. Alon to say, Derek Papa, coming to you on a Monday night. And I thought that we'd get the A.J. Brown trade, and we knew this was coming, and we'd react on Thursday after the first game of the finals, Knicks and Spurs. But man, this morning I woke up and I saw ESPN Cleveland all over this, where they were hearing that Myles Garrett may be traded today. And there were some other reports out there. Mary Kay Cabot had a report that the Eagles, Rams, and Cowboys were talking to the Browns. And I thought that this is getting a lot of steam, but I don't know if it's actually going to happen. So I think Tony Grossi, who's been covering Cleveland sports for a long time, went on ESPN Cleveland and said that this isn't happening. This is all smoke and mirrors, and the Browns don't have enough pass rush depth to replace a Myles Garrett. They didn't account for that in the draft, so this is going to happen. And Adam Schefter was asked about this morning on Pat McAfee, saying that the Browns have been adamant for the last two off seasons that they are not trading Myles Garrett. And sure enough, around 10:30-ish, Myles Garrett was traded from the Cleveland Browns to the LA Rams for a 2027 first-round pick, a 2028 second, and a 2029 third, and Jared Verse, a young and upcoming player in this league. So just your thoughts, Alon. I have a lot where I was not anticipating this. There was a lot of steam this morning, but I thought maybe this would get dragged out a little bit. But where we knew the A.J. Brown trade was going to happen either today or later this week, it seems like this was in the works for quite some time between the Browns and Rams.
I actually thought after the 4-year contract got hammered out for $160 million total, that Myles Garrett wasn't going to go anywhere, or at least for a year. I thought for a year he would play again for the Browns. It's funny because our last episode we played that sound from Todd Monken where he had said he hadn't talked to Myles Garrett at all. So
can we pull that up real quick, Alon? Because that just makes it even funnier, 10 times funnier.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we can pull that up again, but that sound in and of itself, when he said it, was like, okay, so maybe Myles is staying away. He's not going to the OTAs or, the voluntary kind of mini camp stuff. But instead, I mean, looking back on it, extremely telling.
I'm not. Just for the record, have you had any face-to-face with Garrett yet? Myles?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Well, and now that makes
sense. He's not even playing on this team. Come on.
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense now why he said that. And we have some other audio to get into a little bit later. But you sign a $160 million contract like that after you've kind of requested, well, not kind of, you've made it known that you wanted to be traded out of there. Yeah. And the team is able to lock you up and restructure Deshaun Watson's contract over and over again to try to make things more palatable financially. So it just seemed like a situation where it's like, okay, Myles is going to be there for another year. He's been putting up monster numbers. He's now the single season sack leader. 125 sacks since he's been drafted in 2017. I think something like that. I mean, number one in the league by far. best edge rusher in the league, maybe best defensive player overall. Surprising to say the least. Not surprising that the Rams pulled the trigger on it, though, Derek, because the Rams very much sticking with their mentality of F those picks. We do not care about that. We're all in it right now. They're going for it. If Matthew Stafford, look, this trade for the Browns, I think they got great value out of it because they have holes all over the place, and Myles Garrett wasn't making them better in terms of being a contender. But for the Rams, this is very much another one of those all-in moves. So if they're able to get a Super Bowl out of it either this year or the year after, depending, I know Stafford just had his contract, could be a one and done, but if they're able to get a Super Bowl out of it, then it's worth it for them. The question is, though, if they don't, this is a guy's 30 years old. I don't think he's going to have a big drop-off, but that's a lot of money. And one of the reasons they decided to ship Jared Verse out is probably because they realize they can't pay him either with the amount of other players they're going to have to pay or have already paid. So monumental trade, and they are getting the best defender in the league probably, and definitely the best edge rusher. But this is a very much a move from the Rams where they're like, hey, Kubiak's not in Seattle anymore. Their offense probably not going to be as good because they have a defensive head coach. And we were just right there. That was our trip to the Super Bowl. And in their minds, they probably think they could have beat the shit out of the Patriots. So good for them. It's a good move. Insane, though. And the reason I bring up if they don't win a Super Bowl and they end up having a drop-off post-Stafford, those picks are actually really nice for the Browns, right? Because that second, that third, those turn into higher caliber second and third round picks. I'm a little surprised that it happened. I really thought there was no chance that Myles Garrett would be moved so quickly after signing that deal. You just don't sign deals like that and all of a sudden you get moved. It just doesn't happen.
Well, we've seen it a little bit lately where Sauce Gardner was signed a contract in July, and then a couple months later at the trade deadline was traded away for 2 first-round picks from the Jets to the Colts. And the Raiders intended on trading Max Crosby 1 year removed from a contract to the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think that stops teams anymore. And honestly, I think it helps teams get rid of players because they're tied to a deal. So you might see more of these post-June 1st trades where teams aren't eating a ton of dead cap and they could space it out. But just to go through this, Alon, piece by piece, this is a massive move, and it is Les Snead and Sean McVay going fuck them picks all over again. This is a repeat of 2021 where they went all out to get Matthew Stafford, Von Miller, and Odell Beckham either in the offseason or during the season. And the Super Bowl's in SoFi. They want to host it again. So, and I mean, they're hosting it as an organization, but as a team, they want to play in it. So, yeah, they're going all out for this. And as far as the saga of Myles Garrett, so last offseason in 2025, Myles Garrett demands a trade, and he releases a long statement saying he's loved his time in Cleveland, but he wants to move on. It's not about money anymore. It's about rings. And then it became about money again, where he was paid as the highest paid defensive player in all of football, getting $40 million annually. And he has an all-time season with 23 sacks. Then, but obviously they don't have a good season. They won whatever it was, 6 games last year. Todd Monken is brought in as head coach. They fire Kevin Stefanski. Jim Schwartz, who Myles Garrett loved, is not retained because, well, he would have been retained, but he just wasn't happy with the fact that he was overlooked for the head coaching position. So Myles Garrett was due $31 million this offseason earlier, back in March or whatever it was, and that was pushed forward to September. And Andrew Berry and the Browns were making it seem like, yeah, that happens every offseason with Myles Garrett. But where there's smoke, there's fire, and people kind of realize that eventually Myles Garrett could be dealt. And it'd be the same deal as A.J. Brown, where post-June 1st, you could spread out that dead cap hit a little bit more. So, yeah, a year later after Myles Garrett requests a trade, here we are. As I said, this morning there was a ton of reports. Nothing coming from Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport, so nothing legitimate. But when I saw the notification, I was like, wow, this is actually happening. This is as crazy as the Micah Parsons trade, if not a little more crazier. Honestly, it's the biggest trade of the offseason. Where you look back, I mean, there's a ton of trades done this offseason, but you look back, the biggest trade would have been Max Crosby going to the Baltimore Ravens, but that did not happen, obviously. So since that time, we saw, Rashawn Gary get dealt to the Cowboys, Michael Pittman get traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Before the offseason started, we had DJ Moore, Trent McDuffie, but all of that pales in comparison to what happened today with Myles Garrett. And you go back to the Cleveland Browns trying to push this rule where you can trade draft picks 5 years down the line. That's not something you could do in football. You could do it in the NBA, but you can't do it in football. And that was a proposal at the owners' meetings, and it was shot down. I don't know what the percentage was, but not a lot of teams were voting for that. And funny enough, if we pull up the clip along, Sean McVay was asked about it by Kay Adams on the Up and Adams podcast. And now in hindsight, it looks like Sean McVay was saying like, no, we're not doing that. No. I don't want that to happen. There's no chance in hell that's getting approved. 5 first-round picks. I thought it would take 3 first-round picks to get this deal done, but in the end, it takes a first-round pick, a second-round pick, a third-round pick, and a great player in Jared Verse. But let's hear from Sean McVay a couple months ago in March, where he poo-pooed the whole idea of the Browns pushing this rule change where you could trade draft picks 5 years removed.
One of the things that's really big is this Browns proposal to be able to trade draft picks like 5 years instead of just 1 year.
Sure.
With the mentality that you and how excited are you guys about that? I'm sure
well, it's big. There's 0% chance that'll get through. So
Really?
you'll talk. Yeah, nobody. I respect the courage for Andrew to be able to have a very sound reasoning of what's behind it. Hey, if there's one thing you can bet Vegas odds on, there's no chance that thing's getting through.
But you'd back that, no? You're not going
I'm
to
not
pound the
backing
table
that.
for that?
Nope,
Really?
I'm not
Why
backing
not?
You
don't really?
Yeah, competition committee was 11-0.
Yeah, so I think Sean knew back then. I mean, he had to. Like, I think that teams knew that Myles Garrett was going to be available, and I'm sure the Browns were pushing hard to get as many draft picks as they could. But 5 years down the line is ridiculous. So I think Sean McVay was like, we'll give you what we can with what the rules are in place right now, 3 years down the line. Yeah. I'll just say I am surprised that it only took a first-round pick. Now, yes, it's a lot of draft picks, a first, a second, a third, and a player. And let me say, I was kind of surprised it was Jared Verse. But essentially, that's another first-round pick with the type of player he is and the potential. Last year, he had 7.5 sacks. He was Defensive Rookie of the Year in 2024, had that amazing playoff game where he had a strip sack and a fumble recovery for a touchdown against the Minnesota Vikings. He is a promising young player. So when Tony Grossi this morning says, I don't see the Browns trading away Myles Garrett because they haven't really accounted for a replacement at the defensive end spot, but you can easily trade another player to obtain an older Myles Garrett. I thought that maybe Byron Young was going to be this player who had 12 sacks a year ago, but he does not. He's a good player. I think it was a second-round pick along. Maybe I'm wrong on that one. But he does not have the potential of a Jared Verse. But Correct. The fact that the Browns settled for, in my opinion, just a first-round pick, I thought it would take maybe 3 first-round picks to get this done when you think about Micah Parsons going for 2 first-round picks and a player, or Max Crosby initially getting dealt for 2 first-round picks to go to the Baltimore Ravens. But yeah, I mean, it made no sense for the Browns to keep him. It didn't make sense a year ago. Yes, they had a really good defense, but they're not a team that's going to win right now. So this propels the Rams even further to contender status, or the favorite as, the biggest favorites for the Rams this offseason. I thought that they were Super Bowl favorites before this move. Now that they get him, along with the deal they made for Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, I think it's not even close. And the Seahawks are right there too. They didn't have to do a ton this offseason, but I think that the Rams, their moves are sexier, and on paper they should be better than the Seahawks. They're way better than the Niners right now. We could talk about that even more. But yeah, man, I think I was just blown away. I'm surprised that they pulled this off. And it kind of makes the Ty Simpson move make a little more sense now, where at the time when you're drafting at 13 and you see yourself in the short window with Matthew Stafford, an aging quarterback who's only got 2 years remaining on his deal. You got Devontae Adams, who's a good wide receiver, but an aging one as well. And you got a lot of youth on your team. But when you have this short window, why are you drafting the future? And I think that the Rams saw this as a chance that they're not going to ever trade in the spot again at 13 overall. So let's take a chance on something we can invest in long term in Ty Simpson. So now we can save our draft picks to get something bigger. And we saw earlier this offseason they were interested in A.J. Brown, but kind of spooked by the knee. And I don't think the Eagles were ever serious about trading him before June 1st. But we know the Rams were poking around on Max Crosby, so they were trying to make moves, and they still could make more moves. I still, their wide receiver room is kind of thin to me, so I wouldn't be the least bit surprised. Jerry Jeudy might be the on man out. So who's to say that Andrew Berry and the Rams don't make another move, or they could get Jerry Jeudy during the season or right before the season? The Browns drafting 2 wide receivers this past offseason. But yeah, I think that this move is monumental, and it's a short-term move. It's a move for the here and now. It's a move for the Rams to win the Super Bowl for this very year. Are the Niners in a better position long-term? Yes. But if the Rams win the Super Bowl, who cares? Mission accomplished. So I know some Niner fans today, I heard some on the radio just be like, why would you trade away a young and upcoming pass rusher, a Jared Verse, for an older pass rusher? Because that 31-year-old that will be 31 later this year got 23 sacks. They're trying to win right now, and they're really comfortable with their future where Ty Simpson could sit on the bench, learn from Matthew Stafford, and then eventually take over. So they feel they set themselves up for the future and the present. And I have to give a ton of credit to Les Snead and what they accomplished today.
No, they deserve all the credit. Super aggressive move. If you're a fan of the Rams, look, any team, if your team goes out and does that, you should root them on. You should be, who gives a shit about in terms of, oh, should we punt the ball down, 3-4 more years, invest in the future? Yeah, you always want to build for the future. That's what the draft's for. But when you have a Hall of Fame quarterback, when you have a Hall of Fame wide receiver, when you have a good supporting cast around your offense, and really what the margin of error that the Rams need to erase was just having probably a better defense overall. They went out and addressed that, and you will trade those picks every day of the week for that. Niner fans, like you said, Derek, calling in and talking about why would you trade a younger player for an older player? Look, Jared Verse has all the potential in the world. Very good. His pressure rate was immense this past year and the year before. So he is a great player in the making potentially. But look, you're getting Myles Garrett, a guy, like I said, who has 125 sacks since he's come into the league. He's played on nothing but bad teams. Every other team who plays the Browns knows that Myles Garrett is going to try to get his. They game plan for him, and it doesn't matter. He still eats. So not just that. He had 32 tackles for loss last year. The only guy who has ever had more is J.J. Watt, who had 39 back in 2012. That's the kind of player we're talking about. That's the kind of disruption that we're talking about. So if you have the opportunity to add that, you're already probably the Super Bowl favorites. According to the Vegas odds, you are. But now, I mean, in the NFC West, let's just talk about their own division, Derek. The Niners stand no chance against this. They don't. They literally do not. That Rams have better quarterback. Rams have better receivers. The Rams don't have better running back. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best running backs in the league, but they have better pass rush now. They have better head coach. They have better GM. It's just the way it is. So yeah, they're going after the Seahawks, and the Seahawks have gotten worse this offseason. Even though they just won the Super Bowl, they have gotten worse because of the subtractions that they've had. Right. They've lost their running back. They've lost cornerback. They've lost offensive coordinator. They've lost a lot too. So for the Rams, look, it's here for the taking. They might as well go all in. I don't know. They don't seem like they're ever concerned about mortgaging the future for the now. It worked out for them once. Like you said, it is a repeat of what they did, 5 years ago now? Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough to deal with if you're a fan of another team in the NFC West. And if they do go out and add another great receiver, I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah, and Ernie one in the chat here says, hey, Alon, you may think the Rams have a better GM, but hey, that's just your opinion, man. No, I mean, look, I have a lot of respect for John Lynch, but Les Snead makes moves in collaboration with Sean McVay, but he's more of an active GM, I would say, than John Lynch. Where John Lynch, yes, he's made moves in the past to get Christian McCaffrey. They've been aggressive at deadlines before, but I think that it's really Kyle Shanahan making the calls there in collaboration with Kyle Shanahan, or in a collaboration with John Lynch. But I would say Les Snead is a little bit better than John Lynch there, and I'll give the edge a little bit to Sean McVay just having the Super Bowl over Kyle Shanahan, but it's close there too. Like, we can talk about the Niners offseason in relation to the Rams. They made a lot of moves. They got a future Hall of Famer and Mike Evans. Getting Osa Odighizuwa was a big time move. I still would anticipate they're going to get Joey Bosa. But let's be real, the Niners could not have made this move. Where what equals 3 draft picks and Jared Verse for the 49ers? It would have to be where it's similar draft compensation. And I think the Niners are in a different position where they have Brock Purdy, but they also have a lot of older players on the roster. So they are in a mix of winning now, but also rebuilding a little bit. Or just getting younger, I should say, but not totally rebuilding. So what could you have offered as far as a player? Nick Bosa probably is your best chance, but honestly, when you're giving that to Andrew Berry between Jared Verse, a young and healthy player, to Nick Bosa, who's coming off another torn ACL, you probably have to go with Jared Verse. Otis Bird in the chat here says, Mykel Williams? No, coming off an ACL tear, they're probably not. They probably don't want Mykel Williams. Let's be honest too. Mykel Williams, promising young player, but not a pass rusher in the same way that Jared Verse is. So I don't think the Niners really could have done anything to make this move happen. It's tough with the Rams, even though they are this great team, they have the best package available.
And structurally, I was going to say, Derek, from an organizational standpoint, it's just not the philosophy of the Niners to do what the Rams just did. Like, the Niners aren't going to go look down 3 years down the line and give you that kind of draft capital for the here and now. They're just not. It's because there's two different organizational thought processes there. And for everybody in the chat, like AJ said, Alana's turned on the JYOM Niner fans. It truly is over. Look, I'm not turning on you. I'm just saying, when you look at it, and I'm not a Niner fan, but I don't hate the Niners. I look at them. I'm like, where are they better than the Rams now? And it's not just the Niners. Where is any team better than the Rams right now? It's very hard to point out, defensively, you can still point at other teams that are better than them, sure. But from top to bottom, from coaching staff to great players to superstars to the quarterback position, there's not another team that's better than them. There's not another team that's close. Yeah.
No, I'm with you. And also, I wouldn't take anything that AJ Cruz says seriously or personal at this point. But we love you, AJ Cruz. Yeah, man. So, we were talking about today, do the Niners, react with a move themselves? And I don't think that's going to happen. Like, what could they do at this point? Offer 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby? Maybe. But I don't think the Raiders are doing that anytime soon. And we know, well, yeah, and again, even though they're in Las Vegas, I still don't think Mark Davis is going to sign off on that. But if the Niners are in a good position to do that come November during the trade deadline, then maybe we revisit that. And we'll talk about how this impacts Max Crosby. I don't think the Niners are going to make a big swing now. I don't think that they're going to go out and trade for Max Crosby tomorrow. I don't think they're going to trade for a Kayvon Thibodeau tomorrow. I think most likely they still are hoping that Joey Bosa comes around and signs with them. And that's not going to be a big-time sexy move, as big as Myles Garrett, but it will help their pass rush. No doubt about it. It's just where the Niners are. I'm not going to make the comparison of the Giants to the Dodgers here, but the Niners are definitely in a better position than the Giants. And hey, funny enough, they're losing again right now, 12-2. It's just that they can't make these big time moves like the Rams can. Osa Odighizuwa is a great addition, but that costs you a 3rd-round pick. It's not that huge in the grand scheme of things. And what else do they do? Yeah, Mike Evans, relatively cheap contract. They have to plan for the future. They're not in a position where they can trade away three future draft picks because, yes, their players are getting older, and they have to plan for life after George Kittle and Fred Warner and really Nick Bosa and Mike Evans in time. For the Rams, it's really just life after Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams. That's it. So, yeah, the Rams are in a better spot, and they were in a better spot prior to this move. So it's, wow, I'm still in shock that this actually happened. I know that there was a lot of rumors today, but when you actually see the notification, it's insane. It's insane. So it's funny to me how all these insiders know this stuff when the news is actually reported. And Adam Schefter this morning is being like, according to my sources, the Cleveland Browns, Andrew Berry have been adamant that they're not trading Myles Garrett. And then when it happens, it was like, well, look, the Browns were always willing to trade Myles Garrett. Just always funny to me when that shit happens. So, yeah, God, who would have thought that the biggest trade this offseason would have happened June 1st? Now, how does this impact Max Crosby, Alon? Because you and I were talking about the Raiders' schedule. Not great. We'll see how many wins they have after they play the Dolphins week 1. It gets pretty tough after that. They're rebuilding, and at the time when the Ravens offer 2 first-round picks with an 8-9 record and you're drafting 14th overall, you jump on that. Now the Raiders feel better about their team. Obviously, the additions of Kwity Paye and Tyler Lindenbaum, Quay Walker, and Nakobe Dean, they feel like they can compete a little bit better than a year ago. But if it's the same, result that we've seen in recent years, we know that Max Crosby's tired of losing. He's rejuvenated right now because he's pissed off that the Ravens told him hit the bricks. We don't believe in you like we did a couple days before we did the deal. He wants to be a Raider for right now. Let's see what happens if they start losing again. But now that we saw Myles Garrett get traded for not 3 first-round picks, a first, a second, a third, and a player, how do you think this impacts Max Crosby once we get to the trade deadline as far as what teams could offer?
It's extremely low trade value for Myles Garrett. And if anything, this doesn't depress the trade market for a player like Max Crosby, but it depresses the trade value that the Raiders could get for him. They're never going to get that deal again, 2 first-round picks. They're just not. And I'm amazed that this deal that the Browns took is for, look, I think it's a good deal for them because they're going to get better probably because of this, because Myles Garrett is a very expensive player that they're not doing anything with. They're not getting better as a team with him. But for Max Crosby or anybody like him who's coming up in the next couple of years here in a similar situation, this kills the trade value. Look, a first-round pick is still a first-round pick, and so are additional picks and maybe a player. But it looks like that Micah Parsons deal, I don't want to say it's a one-off, but probably for the next 3 or 4 years, it is, Derek. We're not going to see another deal of that magnitude for a pass rusher. Now, Micah Parsons extremely young compared to both Max Crosby and Myles Garrett, so that's why you see the capital invested that way. But Max Crosby and Myles Garrett are definitely the kinds of players who are worth multiple first-round picks. Myles Garrett worth more just because of his statistical output over Max Crosby, even though I think Max Crosby has played on far worse defense. He has played on worse defenses than Myles Garrett has, and has had way worse coaching situations defensively as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah, look, if let's just say Max Crosby towards that trade, week 4, week 5, even, right? The Raiders have won 1 game, and we get news that there's trade rumors out there for Max Crosby. We're looking at like a 1, maybe a player, or a 1 and a 3. That's kind of what we're looking at now. That's probably what the market says. And that 3 might be deferred. The 1 might be deferred. That's the other thing too.
Yeah, I would say that.
But it's not 2. It's not 2, Derek. It's not going to be 2. It's not going to be 2 first-round picks.
Unless a team gets in a bidding war where it's the Bears and the Eagles and let's say the Niners, where one team needs to come over the top. I think at this point, given the medical and the age of Max Crosby, he'll be 29 this year. And that's why I think Micah Parsons in the end went for 2 first-round picks and a player. I do think we'll see these types of moves. Like last year, we saw Sauce Gardner go for 2 first-round picks. Quinnen Williams went for a first and a second. He's not a pass rusher, but he's still one of the best 3 techniques in all of football. I think that because of the age and the fact that Myles Garrett is closer in age, going to be 31 this year, to Max Crosby, I think that the Raiders would be willing to make a deal at the deadline for a first, a second, and a player. That may be asking a lot, but I still think that could be on the table. Now, which teams could do that now? with the Eagles acquiring another first-round pick today with the A.J. Brown trade, I wouldn't be the least bit surprised if the Eagles say, all right, you know what, I'll give you a first, a second, and Nolan Smith, the pass rusher from Georgia that hasn't really flashed yet. And then you're getting a young player similar to what you're getting with Jared Verse. Jared Verse has done a lot more than Nolan Smith at this point, but I think the Raiders would probably take that. And in hindsight, they probably would have taken the first, second, and Osa Odigizua trade that the Cowboys were offering. The Bears were offering 2 first-round picks, but their first-round pick wasn't as high as the Ravens pick. So that's why they ended up with doing the deal with the Ravens. And then ultimately they backed out. So we'll talk about that more. I do think that that's on the table now. If Max, I think we're seeing now in the last few years, anybody can be traded in the NFL. It's been crazy since 2021, in my opinion, where I never thought Matthew Stafford or, God, name some of the quarterback movement that happened after that. Russell Wilson. Remember Carson Wentz, Khalil Mack. All these guys got traded. Devontae Adams in the offseason of 2022. And since that time, we've had NBA-style trades in the NFL. So at this point, I think anybody could be traded. It's just crazy to me. So when Myles Garrett demands a trade, he waits, and eventually he gets dealt. And I think that, as I said at the beginning of the podcast, just because a guy signs a deal doesn't preclude teams from moving him. It actually makes it even advantageous for the team that signed the contract to do the deal, because you don't have to rework the deal. You don't have to go back and say, well, Myles Garrett, we want to make you the highest paid defensive player in all of football. Now that Myles Garrett's on the books for $40 million, the Rams are getting a cheaper option and an older option, but a cheaper option in Garrett than what they potentially would have had to pay with Jared Verse.
True.
With the way the market's going, Will Anderson got $50 million this offseason. Who's to say that Jared Verse couldn't get a similar contract? It's easier to pay Matthew Stafford $60 million and Myles Garrett $40 million and Puka Nacua potentially $40 million than having to pay Jared Verse $50 million. So, yeah, is it a risky move to go with an older player? Yes. But is it that risky when the older player had 23 sacks a season ago? Probably not.
And when there's no drop-off in sight. There is no what are the signs of decline out of Myles Garrett? There haven't been any. So you got to feel really good about that. To your point about having these teams own the contract control here, it does remind me of Major League Baseball. It's very, very similar to trading for a young player, not in this case in the NFL, it's an older player, but it's like in MLB when a team trades for a young player who's under team control. First thing that popped into my mind was Mason Miller. The Padres love that deal because they have a guy who's under control. And yes, it's a cheaper contract and they will eventually have to pay him big bucks for what he does. But it is very similar to what's going on in the NFL now. So I do see your point about that. Look, it's almost an advantage. You get a guy under team control and then the teams go, well, the market's going to keep jumping up. So I'm not uncomfortable about trading for him now, because at least in the worst case scenario, even if the trade doesn't work out in my benefit, at least I have an asset that's under 3 to 4 years of control, and I'm not worried about re-signing. And if anything, I might be able to restructure, especially if we're a winning team. If we're a winning team, I might be able to sell a restructure to that player.
Yeah. So again, we could talk about it nonstop here, but I'm just shocked that this actually happened today, and the Rams are that much closer to being just unanimous Super Bowl favorites. Seriously,
if you want to crown their ass, crown them, Derek.
Yeah, I know. We're still going to play an NFL season, but man, what massive moves! Do you think this is bigger than when they acquired Von Miller? I would say yes, absolutely.
Von Miller was over the hill already.
I wouldn't say over the hill. He was just an older player. Okay, I guess that's what over the hill means. But I would say yes, just because Von Miller. I forget what age they traded, but
I think it was 30, 31 or 32.
So relatively the same age as Myles Garrett here, but Myles Garrett's coming off an all-time unbelievable season. And the Rams got a steal with Von Miller back in the day where they traded, I want to say, a second and a fifth for him, and the Broncos were willing to take his salary on half of his salary for the remainder of that season. This is where the Rams are taking on all of Myles Garrett, and they're glad to do that. So, yeah, I would say the Myles Garrett trade is bigger than Von Miller. But that team may have been more loaded back then, where they had Stafford, they had Robert Woods, but he tore his ACL that year. Obviously, Cooper Kupp. They go sign Odell Beckham Jr. when he was released by the Cleveland Browns. So it's a similar season. It's a similar offseason for the Rams where they're going fuck them picks. Now, Todd Monken, this was a kind of a weird deal today where I believe the Browns had a golf tournament, and I guess Jared Verse was going to participate in it, but they had to tell him, like, hey, don't bring your clubs to the green today. You may have to go on a flight to Cleveland. And he was born in Dayton, Ohio, but I'm not sure Jared Verse is happy that he's going to the Cleveland Browns. So right before the trade happens, here's Todd Monken being asked about the rumors that the Browns could trade away Myles Garrett.
Assured that when I took the job, I was never assured of anything when I took the job, other than once I signed my contract and whatever my contract said, that's what I was assured. And no matter what any of us coaches sign up for, is we show up every day and we coach the guys that are in the building like we've done since we've been here. That hasn't changed.
Oof.
So he's basically saying that I wasn't guaranteed that Myles Garrett will be on this team. When you take over a head coaching position, everything's on the table. Like you can't just say like, oh, well, we were thinking about this down the line without your knowledge. Like when Todd Monken's being interviewed for the head coaching position, I'm sure they bring up to him like, how would you feel about us potentially trading away Myles Garrett? And Todd Monken at this point in his career just wants that coaching job, so he's going to say yes to everything. Like when Sean Mannion is named offensive coordinator of the Eagles, I'm sure Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni have to tell him there could be a possibility we're trading away A.J. Brown. How does this offense look? So, yeah, this isn't something like where this is, thrown at the coaches out of nowhere being like, whoa, I didn't agree to this. That's why like the whole Jason Kidd thing to me, where he was surprised by the Luka Doncic trade. I call bullshit on that. And there's been reports that back that up, that he was well informed about them trading away Luka Doncic and probably was in favor of it. So, yeah, craziness today in June, but I love it. I love talking frenzy. God. And now now I get addicted to frenzy. We're like, what more trades could we have? Saw rumors today about Josh Sweat going from the Cardinals to the Packers. I'm not going to go crazy this whole offseason. We got an NBA Finals that I'm very, very excited about. We also have the World Cup coming in a week and a half, and I'm excited about that too. So we'll talk about that. But when NFL news pops up, we're going to talk about it. Case in point, the news that we were anticipating today, A.J. Brown gets dealt finally to the New England Patriots right after the 1 o'clock, deadline where you can maneuver the cap. He gets dealt for a 2028 first-round pick and a 2027 fifth-round pick. And, again, no surprise. Adam Schefter said this was going to happen. That's why you and I were talking about it yesterday, Alon, where I wasn't buying that. This could take some time. No, I think both teams knew what they wanted in the end. And while the Patriots weren't willing to give up a 2027 first-round pick, they're fine with giving up a 2028 first-round pick. So, A.J. Brown goes to the New England Patriots, where now that wide receiver room consists of A.J. Brown, Romeo Doubs, Matt Collins, Demario Douglas, Kayshon Boutte for now, but eventually he's probably going to get dealt himself. And now the Eagles, we saw the moves they made this offseason, where Devontae Smith is their true number one. They trade for Dontavius Wicks. Is it Dontavion or Dontavius?
I think it's Dontavius. I think you have it right.
Okay, Dontavius Wicks. They sign Hollywood Brown.
Dontavion. It's Dontavion.
Dontavion. That one always screws me up. Mekhi Lemon. So now they have a certain type of wide receiver throughout their room, with the exception of Dontavion Wicks, where they have skinny slot guys, and that's kind of the Green Bay mold a little bit, where they have the shifty route runners. So that's the wide receiver room you're going to see with Sean Mannion. And I'm very interested to see what this Eagles offense looks like, where it's kind of Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay-esque. Jalen Hurts under center. And, Saquon Barkley probably used in the receiving game a little bit more. And it's going to be a huge year for Jalen Hurts without his big wide receiver that he's had for the last 3 years, or 4 years, I should say now. Was it 4? Yeah. No, 4 seasons. Yeah. Who was excited to be there initially. Draft day 2022, a first-round pick. Mike Vrabel leaves the room. He's pissed. And A.J. Brown's doing a FaceTime with Jalen Hurts, all excited. And in the end, it turns into a Terrell Owens and Donovan McNabb situation. So big year for Jalen Hurts and big year for Devontae Smith. For A.J. Brown, I think you have to look back on this and say that he handled this poorly, where the team was winning. He wanted to trade after they were 4-0 this past year, and no one does that. I think some teams or some players are happy that they're winning in spite of not getting the productivity that they're hoping, the stats that they're hoping to get. But A.J. Brown's a different cat. Even though the team won the Super Bowl, we knew how unhappy he was reading the book on the sideline. And even the Super Bowl, I think he tweeted out after winning that, being like, I'm not satisfied. This isn't enough for me. So he goes to New England, where he's obviously the go-to guy. But is it a better quarterback situation? Time will tell, but I would say Drake May is probably a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts right now. He has the coach that he respects way more than Nick Sirianni. We saw it a year ago where Nick Sirianni was screaming after they won in Buffalo, and A.J. Brown side-eyed him, being like, man, this motherfucker. But I think Mike Vrabel's the type of guy that could tell him, dude, chill out. Chill out. I'll get you the ball. You wanted to be here. Just trust me. I wonder how A.J. Brown's going to react sometimes with Josh McDaniels. That could be a very interesting thing where Devontae Adams had his issues with Josh McDaniels back in the day. Does this move make the Patriots the favorites in the AFC East again? No, not in my opinion. I think that you have to look at the team in totality, and as we said yesterday, Alon, the offensive line needs some work. They drafted Caleb Lomu, who could be their left guard for now, or maybe they kick Will Campbell to left guard. But yeah, I look at the Bills. It's just, with me, it's the quarterback position. I trust Josh Allen a hell of a lot more than I do Drake May. And even though DJ Moore is not a better wide receiver than A.J. Brown, I think he fits that scheme a little bit better than what A.J. Brown could do with the New England Patriots. So, yeah, all in all, I think that it's a missed opportunity for A.J. Brown, what could have been with the Eagles. And went to 2 Super Bowls, but not good enough for him. And I think it's a big move for New England, but not one that's going to make them big-time contenders in the AFC like we saw a year ago. I still think Buffalo's that team.
Yeah, no, I still think, even though what happened last year, I still think the Bills are the better roster and the better team than the Patriots are. I think the Patriots just had a really soft schedule. Were able to win the games that they needed to win, and were able to take advantage of injury in the playoffs. I don't think they get past the Broncos if Bo Nix is not hampered by what was it, ankle injury?
Yeah.
Right? It's the ankle injury. So
broken ankle, yeah.
Broken ankle, basically broken. He's not playing. Let's just put it that way. So I still don't think the Patriots are the best team in that division. The Josh McDaniels aspect of it is very intriguing, because Josh McDaniels will make A.J. Brown work over the middle of the field and put him into body bag situations. He just will, because that's the offense that Josh McDaniels runs, and it's what he's always run. So that's going to be the way it is. A.J. Brown is an egomaniac, and that's fine if you want to be that, but he is. Yeah. I mean, they've had all the success in the world over there in Philadelphia, and he's like, I want to get out of here. We're starting the season 4-0, like you said, Derek, and he's like, I got to get the hell out of here. This place sucks. And maybe that speaks to the dysfunction of the Eagles organization overall, but they're still successful. So how bad can it really be? I don't think this is a move that puts the Patriots over the top. It keeps them competitive, but I wouldn't even say they're the second best team in the AFC, depending on health. Based on what the Broncos did last year, I think the Broncos might even be better than them. So and I think the Broncos have a better head coach too. They do. Sean Payton is a better head coach than Mike Vrabel. And I think the Bills are a better team. The Ravens are going to be resurgent probably, depending on the health of Lamar Jackson and and Trey Hendrickson and what they've been able to add. So yeah, I mean, it's good for the Patriots. They need a move like this, but this might be one of those fool's gold kind of moves. They felt like they were close to winning a Super Bowl last year because they made it to the Super Bowl, but they might be reaching a little too far here for success that they might not see for ever again during the Drake May reign as starting quarterback for them. So this could be a reach that they take and it doesn't pan out. And I'm not saying it's going to reset their franchise or anything, but it could just end up being, hey, they're a really good team. They make the playoffs. They're competitive, but it doesn't put them over the top to win a Super Bowl. I think that's the kind of move this is. And it's not because AJ Brown's bad. He's a great player. 1,000 yards in 3 of the last 4 seasons.
Yeah.
And he's been able to do it in a pretty basic offense, I would say, over there in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
But this doesn't mean that we should crown them immediately as going back to the AFC Championship. I don't think they're that good in terms of getting back there a second time in a row.
I would agree with that. Even though they make this move and it makes them appealing, and there's obviously the storylines of, Mike Vrabel and Diana Rossini and this big-time move where that makes them a sexy team going into the season and why they most likely were put on the opener against the Seahawks. But I think the Bills probably look at this past year as a missed opportunity where they lost in overtime to the Broncos. Had they gone to New England for an AFC Championship game, sounds like it would have snowed like hell, but they probably feel good about their chances to go to New England where they beat them a couple weeks prior where they were down 21-0. So I'm still taking the Bills. And then it goes, from there. Denver got better this offseason. I forgot about this trade. Jalen Waddle for a first, a third, and a fourth. That's a big-time move. So, yeah, it's a big move. But is it one that catapults them as the favorites in the AFC? No.
I'd still put them. Yeah, they're behind the Bills, who are in their own division. I think they're behind the Broncos, even though the Broncos fell short because of injury problems to the quarterback position to Bo Nix. I think with a healthy, dynamic Lamar Jackson, they might even be behind the Ravens. So, and I know the Ravens just with 8 wins last year, but we know what that team looks like when they're at their best. They're right up there with the Bills. It's kind of funny. They're the 2 teams that always the bridesmaid, never the bride. And,
right, exactly.
Whether it's been Kansas City who always stifles things for either of those teams, or whether, it's the Patriots coming kind of out of nowhere to do it. I just don't think this is I think the Patriots are farther away than they think they are internally. And I think part of it is Will Campbell with his alligator arms. Yeah. And I think that's the thing they need to address. Defensively, they're rock solid. Like, they have the best cornerback in the game, in my opinion, in Christian Gonzalez. So he did yeoman's work during the Super Bowl and had a great season. So they have things to build on, but I just don't think this trade puts them over the top. Then again, credit to them for doing it. Look, Derek, you're a fan of the NFL offseason and all the fuckery, as you would call it. I like it too. It's fun. And we want to see teams be aggressive. We don't want to see teams just stand pat. So we've gotten a lot of this. And you mentioned Jalen Waddle. I love that trade for the Broncos. It's a great trade for them. And they gave up a lot of assets, but for a guy who put up, and I said this last time, massive numbers in a horrible situation in Miami.
No, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, I love the fuckery. And I know everybody in the chat's gonna come on. All right, don't forget us about in the chat, Derek. Come on.
I do have a question for the chat, Derek. I mean, and
go for it.
I kind of brought it up earlier after the Rams discussion, but
by all means, because now Rocket New Era and AJ Cruz want me to acknowledge them a little bit more. But attention whores.
Yeah, they are. I was going to ask the chat because mostly predominantly Niner fans in here. Where are you guys better than the Rams? Are you better than the Seahawks? And where are you better than the Rams?
Most fans are going to say they're not. I mean,
I want to know. But position group, are you better at linebacker? Probably. I mean, where are you better than those teams? Because if running back, maybe I don't know. Running back, yes, for sure. But where are you better? Where can you hang your hat on? And the other thing is, look, if I'm in that division now, if I'm Kyle Shanahan and I just see this move that the Rams made, I'm an egomaniac myself if I was a coach. So I would probably say we're running right at Myles Garrett first 5 plays of the series. Right. If we can get a first down. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Like, chat, what do you think about where the Niners stack up? Because you now have the defending Super Bowl champions in your division, who I would say got worse just because of subtractions to their team. And now you have a team that has gone out and totally spent the war chest to be overwhelmingly better than any team in the league.
Yeah, I mean, Rocket New Era in the chat here is saying we're 3rd place in our own division, tight end. Nah, I think that even though Kittle is one of the best tight ends in all of football, the Rams have more depth at tight end. Linebacker, yes. Running back, yes. But yeah, I don't think the Niners, position by position, can say that they have better players than what the Rams have right now. What's AJ Cruz saying here? You know what, Alon? I'm taking the high road on this one. I have nothing nice to say. How you like me now, Derek? All right, AJ Cruz. All
He's
right.
not nicest. But look, I mean, we can say Brock Purdy's the second best quarterback in the division, right? We can say that. He's better than Matt. I not better than Matt Stafford, but he's better than the USC kid up in. I don't know why I'm blanking.
Sam
on his
Darnold.
name. Sam Darnold, yeah, who just won the Super Bowl. He's better than Sam Darnold, I think.
Yes, he is.
I mean,
Don't
Sam
ask-
Darnold is a phenomenal thrower of the football. I've never seen anybody throw the ball like him, Derek, but he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's doing the best impression of my dad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Sam exercised a lot of demons getting the Super Bowl win last year, and I think Chris Sims actually might have Sam Darnold ranked higher in his quarterback rankings, but whatever, that's offseason quarterback rankings. Yeah, I mean, look, we'll talk about it all offseason as we get closer to training camp, but the truth is, yeah, going into the season, the Niners should be a playoff team. If they're not, then that's a huge disappointment, but I don't think they're on the same level as the Rams or the Seahawks, which is pretty hard right now in their own division. And by the way, I brought this up while the news was breaking about AJ Brown. Should Diana Rossini have gone like scorched earth today? Like activate her Twitter account once again and just post a photo of her and Mike Vrabel in bed and just be like, "Told y'all."
That would have been amazing. That would have been incredible. And I would hire her if she did that. If I was a media
Barstool would have picked her up in a second.
Immediately. Also, before you got into the AJ Brown thing, I thought you were getting into the most important story of the day, NFL-wise, Derek.
Are we talking Odell Beckham or Russell Wilson?
We're talking Russell Wilson. I don't know if the folks here, the friendly listeners and viewers in the chat, know about this, but Russell Wilson is hanging it up to be in the CBS Sports analyst job.
It sounds like he's not officially hanging it up, but when you take a TV job, your career's over. Yeah, Russell Wilson, and I brought this up a couple of weeks ago or months ago. I thought that Russell Wilson would be a great addition to the CBS pregame show. And yeah, Rockin' New Era in the chat here says, CBS, let's ride. Or Don Peralta, CBS Country, let's ride.
He's going to be great for them. He's going to be so good.
Yeah, he'll be cliche and he'll say the obvious things. Like for pregame shows, like they're not looking for guys that are great on actual games. And Russell Wilson will hide away from, everybody to ridicule him on a broadcast. No one watches pregame shows really anymore. So he's perfect for that. I think he filled in during the playoffs. That's where I got the idea. And sure enough, that's going to happen. Now, Matt Ryan, funny enough, accepted a role with CBS, but didn't officially retire. And I guess the way Ian Rappaport put up the tweet today, he was saying that Russell Wilson has a backup quarterback deal on the table, but for right now, he's going with the CBS TV deal. Once you take a TV job, you're done. Happened to Tony Romo, happened to, as I said, Matt Ryan. You do the whole, I'm not officially retired, let's see how things go. No, people have already solidified their backup quarterback roles. I don't know what Russell Wilson, it sounds like the Jets are the team that are offering him a quarterback position with Geno Smith. But if I'm Russell Wilson at this point, just go into television. And I think that he could be solid on TV, but we're going to remember his career as being one of the biggest, guys to torment, one of the biggest athletes to torment the Niners for years. He was dominant with the Seahawks against them. I don't know what his record was in the end, but when we could do this more on a later podcast. But Russell Wilson, at a point in time, may have had a Hall of Fame career, and then the recent years of the Broncos, the Steelers, the Giants. I think people have a different opinion of Russell Wilson today. And just winning that lone Super Bowl isn't enough to make him a Hall of Famer. So maybe he was never in that conversation. If Jim Plunkett can't get in the Hall of Fame with two Super Bowl wins, then I don't think that Russell Wilson should be in that conversation either. So I think his career is over. And in hindsight, or I guess a retrospect of his career, he's the best Seattle Seahawks quarterback of all time. But the cheesiness, the corniness, the way he interacted with his teammates. I'll always remember him getting that Broncos trade and then playing his first game in Seattle and being mic'd up, being like, nice and loud. Come on, guys, nice and loud, nice and loud. Run or pass, run or pass, run or pass. And all of his teammates are like, pass, run. Like, oh my God, this guy's cheesy as hell. So that's how I'll remember Russell Wilson, as a cheese ball, Mr. Unlimited, like just things you would roll your eyes out. But as far as a football player, the early years in Seattle, he was unbelievable.
I think he's a Hall of Famer. I think he will
You
be
think
a
so?
Hall of Famer. Yeah, I do. I mean, I think, look, the Denver contract ended up being an albatross for them. It was not good for Denver at all. His time with the Giants, not great. Okay with the Steelers, but I just think he did a lot in Seattle. His numbers were incredible. He does have that Super Bowl. I think a lot of people will always say, right or wrong, that he should have 2 because of the decision not to hand the ball off to Marshawn Lynch.
Mm-hmm.
And the play call that they ran, I'll die on this hill. The play call that they ran is not bad, but he executed very, very, very poorly. They probably would have ran the ball on the next down. You should throw that ball low and inside. Instead, he throws it about waist, chest high. The rest is history. But I think he's got a good enough, especially being the all-time leader in terms of Seahawks quarterbacks. I think he's got a good enough case to make the Hall of Fame. Is he like the greatest quarterback of all time? No, but he was a winner and he did a good job. He's going to be perfect for that kind of very basic, don't offend anybody. I don't even know. Just smile and look nice for the camera and say something that whoever is still watching those pregame shows wants to hear. So he's perfect for that job. I think he could be a good analyst, but I don't think he wants to do that either. I think he wants to go in there, be on the morning desk, watch the games, and just say like, oh, so-and-so really did a good job of running the ball today. Like, I think, and he'll do it in a way that makes people like him. And he is corny.
Exactly. Like that, those pregame shows, like morning shows, like that's why Nate Burleson's so good on there, and Bill Cowher's still on there. JJ Watt went from being on the pregame desk to in the broadcast booth. I honestly think that Russell Wilson could probably be a good analyst, but Ernie, one in the chat here says, does anyone want to hear Russell Wilson? I know he's corny as hell. I get it. But as far as analyzing the game, I don't think he would be bad. I would love to hear Phillip Rivers more on a game, but anybody in the chat, does anybody watch pregame shows anymore when it comes to the NFL on Sundays? Like, does anybody turn on? You still do, Alon?
I'll watch them.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just a habit.
Yeah, I'm like, I'll scroll. I'll like move around from ESPN to CBS to Fox, but I honestly, no one really chastises those people, or I should say, criticizes them. If Russell Wilson was on Amazon Prime or anything like that, then he would have more people coming after him. But he's on those pregame shows. No one's going to care, really. Exactly, like people in the chat here. Yeah. Ernie won. Only just your pregame show, man. Well, I appreciate that, Ernie. Rockin' says every now and then if there's nothing else going on. Otis Bird says not too much. I may catch them for a minute or two, but that's about it. Exactly. Like I'm usually taking a walk before the games kick off. And with so many international games, I'm probably watching a game before the 10 a.m. games kick off. So Russell Wilson can hide and not face a ton of criticism being on TV with going to a pregame show. I don't think people are going to notice him, to be honest.
I have to watch him, Derek, because that's where I get my picks. Like, where am I going to get my picks if I don't watch the pregame show? Like, I need to see how Terry and Howie and all those guys are picking the games, because if I don't follow their picks, I'm lost.
I'm completely lost. I'm with you. Where Terry Bradshaw's messing up people's names and doesn't even know who's playing in the league.
You know what would be cool, though, and they'll never do it because the NFL guys, they get paid a lot of money and they don't want to travel this way. But they really should do a college game day style thing where they show up at a game and do the pregame show. But they won't do it. They do it for playoffs and stuff like that, but they won't do it every week. I really think that would be fun if the CBS pregame show went to, Baltimore, wherever it was, to do their pregame show, and then they went to. So I think that would be fun.
If the slate called for it. In college football, there's always going to be a big-time matchup or a unbelievable environment. If the biggest, like, it changes week to week. And now with, like, Jason Kelsey talked about this, we are getting away from more Sunday football. So if you put, more of an emphasis on Thursday games or Wednesday games or, all these primetime matchups, then what is there for CBS and Fox? For the big-time matchups, they'll always go on location. But to do it every week, that's a hard ask. And
They won't do it.
Well, ESPN gets a blank check for College Game Day. I learned about that, where that's the highest grossing show as far as eyeballs, so they can afford to go from place to place every week. For CBS, even though they're in bed with the NFL, they're not going to do that. It's just easy for all of their guys to just stay there. So yeah, again, Russell Wilson going to TV. I don't think people are going to notice him that much. As far as other moves that were made today, Odell Beckham Jr., a blast from the past, because what's this wide receiver's name? I'm going to butcher it. Gunnar Oleski, or whatever the guy's name. First name's Gunnar. He's a punt returner and slot guy for the New York Giants. I think he tore his Achilles at OTAs. So they signed 3 different wide receivers today. Braxton Berrios, who was with the Jets. I don't remember the last time he played in football. You had Juju Smith-Schuster signed today, and I don't think he played football a year ago either. And funny enough, with all these guys available like Stephon Diggs or Deebo Samuel, the Giants want to sign these guys instead. And then, yeah, as I said, Juju Smith-Schuster, Odell Beckham Jr. hasn't played since 2024. I think he only caught like 3 passes for the Miami Dolphins. He's back with the Giants. And I tweeted out today, like, is he going to make the 53-man roster? I think this is a good PR move and a guy that John Harbaugh liked having in his locker room with Baltimore. But I would be surprised if all these guys made the team, especially Juju and Braxton Berrios, probably the most likely candidate because he could be a punt returner. But, yeah, I think the Odell thing is good vibes, but I would be surprised. Like, yeah, he shined a couple weeks ago when he was in that flag football competition. And he made like a one-handed grab, but we're playing at pads. This is a different deal than flag football. I would be very surprised if Odell Beckham made an impact on the Giants, let alone actually made the team.
Yeah, I mean, it's a PR move. I don't know how much left he has in the tank. The injuries have really racked up over the past 4 years for Odell. So, hey, look, if he makes the 53-man, that probably means the Giants aren't very good. Maybe he could help with some of their younger developmental players being more of a veteran presence, help explain the game better to guys like Jackson Dart. But, yeah, I mean, this very much seems like I'm going to go through maybe the early part of training camp, not make the team, and then retire as a Giant. I mean, is that kind of the vibe here? I don't know. I mean, and if he does make the 53-man, like, that means that they have roster problems. Like, that's not good for them because Odell, what was his last major catastrophic injury? It was with the Rams.
Yeah, the ACL tear. He has 2 ACL tears in his career, and he hasn't been the same player since.
No.
And let's not forget, there's a lot of, he might make the team out of necessity because Malik Neighbors had to have a second surgery on that knee that he tore this past season, but he had the surgery again, even though he's playing like in a celebrity, I guess, softball tournament, but they must feel good about his knee. But there's a lot of reporting on that he may not be healthy for week 1. So this may need to be at a necessity for the Giants to have Odell Beckham Jr. But if Malik Neighbors is healthy, they also signed to Darnell Mooney and Colin Johnson. Who's that one wide receiver they had from? Is it Colin Johnson? Who's the guy that was with the Steelers a week ago or a year ago, I should say?
I got to look up their wide receivers because I am not versed. I'm not Jared versed in the because I know they have Mooney. I know they have. Well, Neighbors, Calvin Austin. I mean, who else do they have? Well, Juju Smith now.
Yeah.
Braxton Berry. Yeah.
By the way, the guy that tore his Achilles is Gunnar Olszewski.
Yeah, Olzeewski. Like, he's got one of those crazy names. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna. Whatever, it bolsters their wide receiver room in some way, but that's crazy if he makes a roster. Just from a
Calvin Austin. Sorry, Calvin Austin.
Yeah, Calvin Austin.
Calvin Austin was the guy that I was thinking about. They also have the guy that they drafted, Jalen Hyatt. Isaiah Hodges is still on that team. Who else? Who's that one wide receiver they had? Number 18.
Darius Slayton.
Yeah, Darius Slayton. So they might have guys just to have guys in the wide receiver room, but. Yeah, no, I don't think I would be very surprised if Odell Beckham actually made the 53-man roster. Rock a New Era asking me in the chat, will Derek bring up Ayuk? Well, there was kind of news today where he stopped following everybody on social media with the exception of the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, and his wife. And he was, a guy that was mentioned as maybe a June 1st cut. So we'll see here. I asked Matt Mayoko again today about it, and we'll see. Like, they don't have to do anything with him. I just don't think it makes a whole hell of a lot of sense where, as I said, Jeremy Fowler says he's untradeable, and I agree with him. So the Niners could keep doing this, but it really makes no sense to me why they are hanging on to him. It just really makes no sense.
I don't get it. You should have cut him already, right? And so why is he not? If he's not cut this week, then I'm like, what the hell is really going on? Do they really think they're going to get trade value for him? And they won't. They won't. Teams will just sit and wait. So
yeah,
the sooner
which is fine. I mean, the Niners could do that. I just think it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense because
why deal with the distraction?
Well, it's not really like I thought that maybe more people were going to ask about it at the first OTA media presser for Kyle Shanahan. And again, a lot of Niner fans have this mentality like Tacky does right here. Keep him, hold his career hostage. Fuck him.
Come on.
Yeah, guys, like I don't have that mentality. I'm not going to think the same way as you guys. Like, it's not tit for tat for me. Voiding his guarantees, I should say, by Kyle and John is the payback, in my opinion. So whatever. And Brandon Ayuk can just nip this in the bud real quick by showing up to OTAs. I hope he does, but I'm not going to keep bringing it up. If he's not released anytime soon here, then it's going to be in September, right before the season starts. So, the Otis Bird saying the Niners are trying to make an example out of him. They very well could. But I don't know. And Ernie One here says, I could not care less. He's washed. Yeah, he might be. Like, we have no idea if he's going to play football this year, but it sounds like he does. It sounds like he wants to be with the Commanders. I also saw Don Peralta earlier in the chat here ask, Debo going to end up on the Bills? I haven't seen anything. I haven't heard anything like that, Dom. But if I had to guess, Debo was always a big fan of Mike McDaniel. And I don't love the Chargers wide receiver room. Wouldn't be the least bit surprised if Debo ends up on the Chargers. That's what makes sense to me. The Bills have a lot of wide receivers. They could always use more because in the playoffs, it always feels like they don't have guys that make big plays. But I wouldn't be surprised if Debo ends up on the Chargers just because I don't feel like there's a ton of depth there. They have, obviously, Quentin Johnston, who's, in my opinion, not a wide receiver one. Lad McConkey, who's a good slot guy. Trey Harris, the guy they drafted from Ole Miss. But I think they want more of a veteran presence there, and Mike McDaniel knows how to feature him. And that's about it I have for today. As far as some other news that happened in sports, just some sad news real quick, Alon. Rest in peace to Rick Adelman. He passed away today at the age of 79, former Warriors coach, and didn't have a ton of success with the Warriors, only 2 seasons from 95 to 97. Had more success with the Sacramento Kings, coached 8 seasons for them and had 8 playoff appearances. Of course, that one season in 2002 where they made it to the conference finals, but lost, and everybody knows they got jobbed by Tim Donaghy with the, obviously him fixing the game. Rick Adelman went on then to coach the Houston Rockets and the Minnesota Timberwolves. So he passes away today at the age of 79. His son, David Adelman, coaching the Denver Nuggets. So rest in peace to him. And if you have any thoughts on that, Alon, real quick.
No, I always thought Rick Adelman was a good coach, especially obviously the Warrior connection, but always remember his time as well in Houston. And he had T-Mac on his team, didn't he?
He did, yes, he did.
Yeah, he had T-Mac and an aged, well, not even that aged, but declining for some reason, Stevie Francis. So those are some fun teams. He also had Yao, but no, he was a great coach. Also, Raymond Berry died as well. So an NFL legend also passed away. So a couple of deaths there. So Rick Adelman, 79, I think Raymond Berry, 93. I mean, Baltimore Colts we're talking about. So definitely some older gentlemen, but always.
And also coached the, exactly. And sorry to cut you off there, but also coached the New England Patriots back in 1985.
Led them to Super Bowl.
Yep, made to the Super Bowl, upset the Miami Dolphins. Everybody was hoping to get a rematch of the lone loss for the Chicago Bears in 1985, but the Patriots made it to the Super Bowl and got shit stomped by the Chicago Bears in the Super Bowl shuffle. But Raymond Berry, an NFL legend, one of the best wide receivers in NFL history, maybe the best wide receiver in Colts history. Sad to see that he passed away. Lived a full life in '93. And then the other passing today, rest in peace to Larry Fitz Jr. Sr. At the age of 71. He was a longtime Minnesota sports writer and radio host since 1978. He was the first sports writer to cover his own son in the Super Bowl when the Cardinals and Steelers made it back in 2008. And heard him in the past, always a great interview. I think he has a Hall of Fame vote, or did have a Hall of Fame vote after, with passing away today. So rest in peace to him as well. Anything else, Alon? I know some people in the chat here were talking about the Giants, and they lose after scoring 19 runs yesterday. They lose, what was the final, 16-2? Yeah, they're just terrible. I have nothing to say about the Giants right now.
They're not good. Yeah, anyway, I don't know. We can talk. We should have a podcast, one of these. We will, because it's the summer, Derek, but we need to have a deep dive, a pre-death autopsy on this Giants season, just because maybe when you get to the 81 game mark or something like that, but it's not good. I guess other sports news, we didn't talk about it on Sunday, but I'm sure a few people in the chat watched it. The Champions League final between Paris Saint-Germain, so PSG, and Arsenal, was very nice to see PSG win again. Not because, well, I don't like Arsenal, and I'm not a PSG fan or anything like that, but Arsenal plays a disgusting brand of football, so it was nice to watch them lose. And in 10 days, we have the World Cup. Mexico is going to open things up, so that'll be really fun. And we got Stanley Cup tomorrow and NBA Finals on Wednesday for some reason. So, I mean, good sports season. I will bring up the A's. The A's dropped 2 out of 3 to the New York Yankees. The A's cannot win in Sacramento, but I thought what was very interesting about this whole A's experience in Sacramento is now getting a bid together, or has a bid together now, to bring what they think might be an expansion team one day, MLB expansion team, to West Sacramento. And I think that's a great idea. I think Sacramento can support it. I know they've been filling up a small minor league stadium for the A's because it's, I mean, come on, why wouldn't you go when you can go see pro ball players that close? Kind of like when the Chargers were playing down at StubHub down in Carson. Like, of course you're going to go to a game because you're never going to have an opportunity to be that close to that caliber of player again. But I think it'll be interesting if West Sacramento ends up getting a Major League Baseball team.
Yeah, very interesting. I saw the mayor of Sacramento join Brody Brazil on his YouTube channel, and would the Giants stop that? And he believes, no, I think that they can coexist if they do bring an expansion team to Sacramento. But, yeah, going to be a fascinating couple of days in sports. The Stanley Cup, I'm not really excited for. Like, yeah, I'll watch it, but I don't know. It's the Golden Knights versus the Carolina Hurricanes, and I guess I'm rooting for the Hurricanes, but I would have preferred if the Sabres, the Avalanche, made it. Other news today, just real quick, Steph Curry signed a contract extension, not with the Warriors, but with Li Ning, a Chinese shoe company, for a landmark 10-year deal. Of course, he left Under Armour. I'm not going to act like I know shoes very well, and basketball is all about shoe deals, and obviously Michael Jordan made that huge back in the day, but good for Steph Curry. 10 more years of money going into his pockets when it comes to his shoes.
Didn't Klay Thompson have a deal with that same company way back when? Anta, different company, but Asian company, right?
I believe so.
Okay, so Li Ning.
I could be wrong about that one. I actually have no idea.
I really thought it was. So because that's what I was conflating in my mind there. So yeah, I saw the news about that. Sucks for Under Armour. Great for that company, right? Steph Curry. He's going to when he retires, he'll still Anta Korea says Rocket New Era. Okay, but he'll retire and he'll still be selling shoes 10, 15 years down the line.
Yeah, I mean he has that appeal. Like Shaq is still selling shoes.
Do they still make Shaqs?
He's like selling Skechers or whatnot. Like, yeah, it's not like a shoe brand or anything.
Okay. You remember And One when Al Harrington was their big spokesman?
I do, actually.
That was kind of cool because I was like, oh my gosh, that's Al Harrington. He helped the Warriors beat the Mavericks in a series, and then we lost to the Utah Jazz.
Yeah. Ant actually is located in China.
Okay, Chinese. That's what I thought. Okay, so another Chinese shoe deal for Remember Data. I remember Data. Data was the company did they make the Spreewells rockin'? Did they make the Spreewells? You'll have to check that for me, but I'm pretty sure they did. And if they didn't, whoever made those needs to bring those back. Do you remember those? The Spreewells?
I don't actually.
They had spinners.
Oh yeah?
Spinners in the shoe. So
I do remember those shoes, but I didn't know they were Spreewells.
That was Latrell. Data was Chris Webber. Okay, that was Chris Webber. But yeah, Spreewells, they had the spinner in the shoe, which was hilarious.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Those are your latest with the world of shoes with Steph Curry. I think that's going to be it for tonight, guys. And we'll be back on Thursday to react to Game 1 of the NBA Finals. Still thinking about what we could do for picks along, because you and I were on the same page as far as what we thought was going to happen in that series. We both said Knicks in 6 and Karl Anthony Towns MVP. So I guess just for the sake of having something different, I'll go Knicks in 7. I'll say that Knicks win that Game 7 in San Antonio.
All right. I'm going to dig around to see if there's something not obscure that we can also have a wager on. And I'm not talking about like which bench player gets the most minutes. I want to find something that is not totally nerdy degenerate, but yeah, if not, that's a good compromise. And I see Ernie says back rooms next pod. I haven't seen it yet, Ernie, but I am going to see it. I'm going to see it this week. I think I'm actually going to go watch it Wednesday. So hopefully in time for the next podcast. And I can tell you how not good I think it is probably.
Before the finals?
Yeah, I'll see it like Wednesday at like, I don't know, 11 a.m. 12.
Alrighty then.
Yeah, no. Morning movie, dude. No one's there.
Oh, yeah. Love a good matinee. Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks, everybody in the chat tonight, joining us on this emergency podcast. And who knows, we might get more frenzy. But honestly, this is probably the biggest thing that we were going to have for a while. So we'll talk NFL in the offseason when news breaks. But we're focused on the finals. We're focused on the World Cup. We're talking about actual sports, everybody. So calm the fuck down. Any shit to you too, Tacky. Tacky in the chat. Rock a New Era. Ernie 1. AJ Cruz, whose feelings got hurt tonight. I apologize, AJ Cruz. I know you're a fragile guy. Don Peralta. Otis Bird is the word. I believe that is it. All right, everybody. We'll see you guys on Thursday. Alon, say what you always say, my friend.
Hey, you might think that the Browns got fair trade compensation for Myles Garrett, but that's just your opinion, man.